There's nothing wrong with feeling anxious. Anyone who knows me will know that simple message is at the very heart of everything I talk about. However, there's no doubt that life is going to throw us challenges from time to time, and many of those challenges will cause us to feel some degree of anxiety. So how do we manage our responses so that anxiety doesn't start to get out of control? Well, in this video, I'm going to give my 5 top rules for life that have helped me and my clients lower and ultimately control anxiety levels. Let's do it. So I've got a notes page on my phone where I jot down ideas for videos on this channel. Whenever I have an idea that I feel would make a good video topic, then I'll jot it down with a few accompanying ideas. Now, occasionally I'll note something down in a hurry, look back on it later and have no idea where the thought came from or even the context of that thought and how I imagined it would make a good topic of discussion for a video. And the other day I found one of these. At some point recently, I wrote down, aim high, love one another, be open to wonder. Whilst I have no idea where this came from, I have a vague memory of seeing it on a gravestone, either in person or in a film or TV program. I remember feeling that there was something powerful in the simplicity of those 3 lines. And it got me thinking, if I were to put a few words down on my gravestone, some sort of guiding philosophy or message to pass on, what would I write? Now, it won't surprise anyone who's familiar with my work that my rules to live by are all, in one way or another, geared towards calming anxiety and improving our relationship with our own emotional process. So in this video, I want to share the 5 simple rules that I live by. They're not perfect, and they're certainly not the only rules to live by, but they're the ones that have helped me and many of my clients find a bit more peace, self-compassion, and confidence in the face of life's challenges. These are the rules I come back to when things feel tough, when my head's spinning, or when anxiety is trying to convince me I'm not doing life right. They're not complicated, but they're powerful. So let's get into them. This might sound like a bit of a cliche, but let's be real, most of us are far too hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up for not doing enough, not being good enough, not coping well enough. But here's the thing, when you beat yourself up, you just end up beaten. That internal voice telling you you're failing or falling short, that's not motivating, it's exhausting. All too often we make the false assumption that a low self-image is the truth, when very often it's simply the result of a non-stop, irresistible barrage of negative self-commentary. It's surprising how the absence of that harsh inner monologue very quickly allows us to rebuild our own self-image and restore our perception of our own self-worth. Kindness towards yourself isn't weakness. It's what allows recovery. It's what keeps you going when life is hard. It's how we build the emotional resilience we're so often told we lack. If you're struggling with anxiety, self-compassion isn't optional, it's essential. This was a big one in my own personal journey of recovery. It may be extremely natural to care about how we're perceived. After all, we could very easily argue that life is a lot simpler when everyone likes us than it is if everyone hates us. But at some point we have to draw the line and recognize that the opinion of others, no matter how negative it potentially might be, doesn't directly impact on our path to happiness. As much as the positive regard of others is nice, we shouldn't live in fear of negative regard. That just leaves us changing who we are to please others, rather than relaxing and feeling comfortable to be ourselves. Because the bottom line here is that the opinions of others only matter if they affect our opinion of ourselves. So don't let them. And the good news is you don't have to accept the judgment of others as gospel. Why? Because they're not the expert on you. You are. And their opinions, especially if they're negative, are often more about them than they are about you, their values, their fears, their misunderstandings and shortcomings. And let's be honest, a lot of social anxiety is just us rehearsing imaginary conversations in our heads, worrying about judgment that probably isn't even happening. When you drop the burden of needing everyone to approve of you, life gets a lot lighter. We often make choices based on what scares us the least. We stay in jobs we hate because we fear what might happen if we leave. We avoid relationships because we're scared of getting hurt. We turn down opportunities because we're afraid of failing. And that might keep us safe, but it rarely makes us happy. If fear is in the driver's seat, we either end up making the wrong choice, or perhaps even worse, we make the right choice but for the wrong reasons. Then all we learn is that fear is a valid North Star to guide our journey. But whilst fear of negative consequences is a natural human response, we shouldn't allow it to restrict our options to the point where the world starts to shrink to an uncomfortable degree. Whenever you're stuck, ask yourself, if fear wasn't part of this decision, what would I do? That's usually the path that leads you forward. And it might require courage to take the more feared option. But let's be clear here, nobody on their deathbed ever expressed remorse that they didn't listen more to their fear. Generally, it's the other way round. So this one comes straight from the Stoics, but I've found it's one of the simplest ways to reduce anxiety that you can employ. Simply put, there are only two categories in life: things I can control and things I can't control. In the first category is you, your choices, your actions, your attitude to life. In the second category is everything else. This would include other people's opinions, external circumstances, future events. What this means is that all the time we focus on all this stuff, we start to perceive all that we are focusing on as outside of our control. This leaves us feeling anxious and without any agency. No matter how much we engage in thinking about these things, nothing changes and we start to get increasingly fearful that we are helpless and vulnerable. This is often what exhausts us when we're overly anxious, the need to control everything, yet the inability to do that. When we limit our field of focus to our own choices and actions, then everything we're now focusing on is within our direct influence. And as a result, we start to perceive ourselves as having agency, and our direction through life becomes something we are in control of, thus reducing anxiety. If you want peace, start by letting go of what isn't yours to control. Focus on the bit of the world you can influence, yourself. So this one might be the most important, as it's aimed chiefly at those occasions when we start to regard anxiety itself as the big bad. The ability to feel anxious and then accept it as an emotion rather than a malfunction is ultimately the step in our understanding that frees us from the high anxiety response. But it's important to say here, whatever you feel, fear, sadness, anger, frustration, it's not wrong, it's not broken, it's just human. The problem isn't the emotion, the problem is when we start telling ourselves that the emotion shouldn't be there. That's when we start spiraling. That's when anxiety, or whatever emotions we're talking about, becomes a bigger issue than it needs to be. When we say, I shouldn't feel this way, we're fighting a part of ourselves, and that's a fight we can't win. The solution? Don't resist it, don't push it away, just let it be. Emotions come and go, but they pass a lot quicker when we stop treating them like a threat. If you're struggling to view anxiety as anything other than an illness or a disorder, then check out the video I made about this that I'll link in the description below. It might just change your mind. So those are the 5 rules I try to live by. 1, be kind to yourself. 2, don't worry what others think. 3, don't let fear decide. 4, focus on what you can control. And 5, don't resist how you feel. They might not change everything overnight, but they've helped me and they've helped many of the people I've worked with to simplify their process, declutter their mind, and to build a life that feels a bit more calm, a bit more manageable, and a lot less dominated by anxiety. If this video resonated with you, then you might want to check out the members area on the channel, where I dive even deeper into strategies like these. You'll find exclusive content, including my full Clear Your Head anxiety program, the control system training for personal change, and of course, weekly live Q&A sessions, where I answer members' questions directly. Just hit the join button on the channel homepage or click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and maybe even share it with someone else who could do with a little less anxiety in their life. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box. Always remember, be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.